Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new deck profile here. I'm joined with Takumi, who played in the One Piece TCG Treasure Cup online, who came 15th with Whitebeard. Takumi, thank you so much for joining us today in showing off your deck profile. And I can obviously see in front of us you played Whitebeard in this event. And if you don't mind, would you like to go over your matchups throughout the day, and what obviously made you decide to play Whitebeard, and then go into the deck a little bit to kind of give everyone a bit of an idea and an understanding of what the deck actually does and what you decided to play.
Yeah, so my matchup was surprisingly majority of them was actually purple decks.
Oh wow.
So I started off as facing a king
Mm-hmm.
leader,
Mm-hmm.
which was which yeah, I didn't really understand the leader
Yeah,
until they told me
what
what
it
it
actually
actually
does.
did.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was really confusing, but yeah, so he pretty much has the same cards you would run in a Kaido deck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he ran the Onigashima, the Queens, the Kings, and the Nine Cost Kaido.
Oh, yep.
And pretty much that game, he high rolled me.
Yeah,
I
wow.
nearly lost. I think the final turn he went for lethal and he swang 12 to my leader twice with one life.
Yep.
And previous turn I dropped the 9 cost Kai
Yes.
negate.
Yep.
And from my life, I had one extra K. I got my last counter I needed to defend myself. So that was the hardest. So yeah, pretty much I nearly lost my first game.
Yep.
And then the second game, I versed the Kaido that also found Onigashima and also dropped the 9 cost on curved.
Yeah, wow.
But that game, I had a really good hand. I had all my rush, all my big bodies on board, and managed to rush him down before he was unable to protect himself.
Yep.
And then my third match was against Moby Dick Whitebeard,
Oh, yep.
which is my worst matchup
Yep.
because we pretty much have the same cards, but obviously because of the Moby Dick ability, he will always he's always gonna swing for higher and he's gonna clear my board easier. So
Yep.
that was my worst matchup. But I managed to drop two 9 costs on in the row
Oh.
and had enough and then managed to swing at their leader before they managed to fill the board. So I kept on swinging with my 10,000 until he ran out of counters.
Mhm.
And then my fourth matchup was against the Zoro. He had a really bad hand that game. The only card he played that game was Sunikun in the first turn and
Mhm.
the Zoro, the Rush Zoro.
Yep.
Everything else in his hand was just 2K counters,
Wow.
and it was yeah, he really had it. He had no searches, really bad hand. I was just really lucky, and I saw all my rush and
Mm.
big bodies. And then my fifth round was against Law,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
um, the last play he had two life,
Yeah.
I think four cards in hand, and then the only way for me to win was swinging seven to leader twice with two characters, and then finish off with my 9 cost, the 10k swing. And somehow he didn't find a single counter from his hand, and even though he had like three or four cards already starting, he was bricked with non-counters in hand, and I managed
Wow.
to luckily win that game. And I think that's with this My sixth game is the game that I lost the first time in this tournament,
Yep.
and it was against a kid leader, but playing the film package.
Ah, yes. I think he might
Yeah,
have made it to the finals, actually.
yeah, he made it to the finals. Yeah, yeah, I think it was him. Yeah, and then what happened was he, he didn't summon any characters. He just kept on swinging at my leader, and I
Hmm.
struggled to counter out um early, and I had to take a couple of life. Especially when I'm taking life every turn with my leader, it's really
Yeah.
difficult for me to try to protect myself when I'm getting rushed to lose my life.
You don't want to take your own life.
Yes, so
Sorry, you don't want to take any swings from your opponent when you're taking your own life anyway, right?
yeah, so I'm not playing a Moby Dick deck where
Yep.
I'm playing a Strawbit. So I'm always trying to keep like one or two life so
Yep.
that it goes perfectly with the 9 cost ability to protect my life.
Yep.
But yeah, so he kept on swinging twice to my leader, and I struggled to counter out, and that's probably why I lost that game. Um, and then my second to last game, it was against another Kaido, and then he also found Onigashima.
Yeah, of
So
course.
pretty much all my purple games, they all found Onigashima. And then I think the third turn, I think I swang leader. The first hit to his life was a trigger of Who's Who. Apparently he only ran one or something. And then I KO'd my Nico Robin, which was kind of rough. But I managed to. I think I dropped 2 9 costs in the last turn, and I managed to swing big to his leader for lethal. And then my final game, which was the most important game that I needed to win for top 8,
Mm.
which I it happened to be it had to happen to be a Doflamingo, which I really struggle against because obviously they swinging at your leader while having big characters on board,
Yeah. Yep.
which is really difficult for me. Especially when I'm trying to protect myself with counters, but then I also have to target their characters. And obviously had the 9 cost on curve Mihawk and bottom decked I think my ace as soon as I dropped it, and my board was completely open for him to just swing big for me. And that's pretty much it, I think, yeah. So wait, sorry, what was the other questions?
No, so in that, obviously, you mentioned you came 15, so that was obviously your top 8 game that you obviously lost
Yeah,
to Duffy.
yeah,
And obviously, there is a couple of different ways that you can obviously run Whitebeard, and you've mentioned now that you're running the Strawbeard package. Is there obviously take us through, your deck and your choices and stuff like that? Obviously, 80% of the deck is usually very very similar to a lot of other Whitebeard stuff, but talk to us about obviously the ratios that you might have changed up and the cards that you
yeah.
might have included that other players and other decks might not have included, because you've obviously got the stock standard like the Namis and the Curlies. So take us through your deck itself and kind of give us the insight of on the choices you made and what was
Yeah.
the reasoning behind them.
So the reason why I started playing the Strawbid
Mm.
instead of all the other hybrid or the Moby Dick
Hmm.
is because Law and Zoro became very popular from the I think the Melbourne regional, the most
Yeah.
recent one.
Yep.
It took over the popularity, pretty much the most popular deck in the tournament, and I realized that being rushed in a Moby Dick deck. It's really difficult, especially when they feel the board swinging cheap. And it's really difficult when I don't have that much rush characters or really cheap early game body. And that's why I chose Strawberry that has the Rush Luffy's, the Nico Robin that can be searched, and which is really good against those top meta decks.
Yep.
Yep. It's
Okay.
pretty much it for the reasoning. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for the ratios.
Yeah, so I mean, there's going to be a lot of stock standard stuff that I think everyone obviously decides
Yep.
to run. You've got, your 4 Nami, which everyone is kind of
Yep.
expecting. A very, very strong card, obviously in red. Um, Not really something that you want to put any less of than 4, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So you definitely need this card, um, especially when you're going either second or first. If you're going first, you need to see this card
Yep.
because this is the only free drop I run, pretty much
Okay.
the strongest card on curve
Mhm.
on the set.
Yep.
And also, obviously, if I'm running 4 of these,
Mhm.
so 4 of the Nico Robins.
Yep.
And obviously, I need to see my focus if I'm going second. This is the pretty much the best stats you can have on a focus, and it's obviously searchable from
Nami. Yep.
Nami. So I ran 4 of the Luffy.
Yep.
And then 3 of the Frankie. Recently a lot of people running 4 each. So 8 in total, but I realized that I'm always gonna see at least one of these or one of these
Mhm.
in my opening hand anyway, so that's why I cut down a bit, just one Frankie to add more 2k counters, which is better to protect myself. That's why I cut down one of the Frankie.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, yeah. So on the third turn, this is what everyone plays. This is the key card, which,
Yeah.
yeah. So you really need to see. You really want to see these cards because it can, in just one turn, you can get 2k counters maximum out of the hand while having a character on board that's same life as your leader.
Mhm.
So they struggle to choose which target they need to attack.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
really difficult for them.
And you're running 4 of these rush
4,
Luffys.
yes.
Yeah, I don't normally see a lot of decks running 4 of these in the deck, but you feel like 4 is the ideal number that you would continue to take with you?
Yeah, I wouldn't cut even a single copy. Because if I wouldn't want to like drop maybe like a if it's the same stats on third turn,
Mm-hmm.
I would rather have something that's they will be scared of.
Yep.
Obviously, this card is really good against the new other kid, the 8-cost kid.
Yes.
So the 8-cost kid ability drops a blocker while with his ability, which what the Strawberry struggles.
Mm,
So being able to swing unblockable to the kid is also really
very
strong.
strong. Yeah, does make
Yeah.
sense.
So that's why I kind of ran 4 of this.
Yep.
And recently, a lot of people not running either 4 or none of these King J, but I chose to run 3 of these. Surprisingly, I actually dropped more King Ju than my Luffy that tournament. I didn't
Yeah.
see there was so many games I didn't see both Nami and the Rush Luffy. And surprisingly, I actually managed to summon this on third turn.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it's this is a great card, even though it's not a Straw Hat card. I mean, it doesn't get jib pistoled.
Yeah,
Um, also, yeah, also it's a 7K body, which a
difficult
lot
to
of
stop.
character, yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of character is difficult to attack into, and obviously it's still a 1K counter. Really,
mm.
it's not bad to have more than one in your hand. It's
Hmm.
always something to protect your life. So I run three of this. So I decided to run three ace. So this is pretty much a card that clears the enemy board. I personally wouldn't drop this if there's nothing to KO.
Yeah,
Even if there's a rush, I would rather drop
a kingdom
this
instead.
because I can leave a Dawn for my events
Yep.
and save my counters. So normally that's why I'm only running three, not four. I don't really like it if I see like two in my hand, or normally you only summon one just to clear the board. But it's one of the strongest card in the whole Whitebeard um deck. So I'm running three of this. And this is my, I guess, my key card.
Yeah.
The card that saved me every game. So a lot of matches I actually mulligan to for these. A lot of decks I faced was very slow decks. Surprisingly, I only faced one Zora, one Law, which is the only two aggro decks I faced. So every other matchup I pretty much mulligan for these. And I on the games that I mulligan for them, I actually managed to pick up two of them, at least. And be able to leave one Dawn for your event while having a big body on board, especially when all your characters are only 7K, is very important. And yeah, a lot of lore decks, a lot of even purple, black, they have cheap blockers, which I cannot KO or go through without Nico Robin.
Mm.
So this KO effect really helped me to get closer to life. So this was really important. Yeah, and then I'm gonna introduce my two K counters
Yep.
for Otamas. For Otamas,
Yeah.
I
Self-explanatory.
actually played a
Yeah.
couple of Otamas on play. It goes really well with obviously the new gates ability, and surprisingly, I actually used a couple time with my Nico Robin.
Oh, yep.
Um, yeah, really, it's really difficult for me to KO like a 4K or like a 5K stats, but this Otama managed to kill important characters that I need to get rid of. Um, for Machina, so normally I use this regards not without thinking of anything, because you can only kind of pair this with Nami if you
Have
um
her on the board. Yeah.
yeah. So but with Nami, this is a great card because you get a extra swing with your one character with just one Dawn. So it's really efficient for to get rid of their 1K counter. So I'm running for this. Yeah. So for promo Luffy. So I haven't played this card the whole tournament, but it's searchable. Um, Worst case scenario, if I don't see my Nico Robin, or when I'm going first, distort a card that can swing for 7, that can potentially kill like big characters on board, or get rid of their counter events late game. And then I'm running 3 Sanji.
Hmm?
I was planning to run 4, but I had to cut some 2K counters, and I think I cut down Frankie to add 2 guard points and 4 radical beams. I started off the tournament before the tournament making my deck list. I was planning to not run the guard points because half of a game you would expect to go first because a lot of opponents don't want you to go second because all your cards curve better into going second.
Yep.
And then if I'm going first, there's a lot of cards that's use all my dons perfectly and doesn't have enough don open to use my event counters,
Mm.
which but then practicing in my locals, I realized that there's sometimes I don't see a single event, which is very scary in these 9-round tournaments. I want to make sure I have at least one event late game. So that's why I had 2 guard points. But always, yeah. So, but Radical Beam 4 is pretty standard. And that's pretty much summarized my deck list, I think so.
So now that you've played in this tournament, obviously, as your final words, what would you change if you had the option, or do you think that you would just kind of keep it as it is? You mentioned that you didn't play any of the promo Luffy's. Would you then now swap it out for something different to finalize your deck, or do you think that
Um,
you are still happy with how it is? You wouldn't really change it at all and take it to the next event that we have coming up?
yeah, I'm pretty happy with my deck list. I don't think I have that much card to swap. I'm still considering swapping out Nico Robin for Vista because
Mm,
a lot of time I actually lost my dice roll and they made me start the game.
yep.
And then because if I'm going first, I have to use all my dons for my character.
Yeah.
I end up not attaching. I don't have the space to attach a don on my Nico Robin, and then late game I don't even use the ability. But if I had Vista, I
You
could.
get the effect straight away instead of
Yeah,
waiting for a turn.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of considered running maybe a Vista instead of
The Nico
Nico
Robin.
Robin, or even split them into 2-2 or like maybe 3-2, like some other
Yep.
decks does. Um, Obviously I didn't play the promo Luffy or like the Sanji
Mm,
also. Um, Sometimes Usopp, I think the 2K Usopp is some
okay.
people run that instead
Yeah.
because especially the draw effect. A lot of deck right now, mostly red decks, even blue and purple have event cards,
Yep.
which drawing and strawberry is really important to get as many 2Ks
Cards in
and
your hand
1K
as you
counters.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I do have thoughts about
Yep.
Usopp. Yeah. So that may be a card I might consider. But everything else, I feel like the ratio was. I'm happy with my ratios. Uh, yeah.
Perfect. No, well, that's great. We appreciate your time jumping in, and once again, congratulations on top 16, and
Thank you.
hopefully in the future, for more events, we can bring you back onto the channel to give us your updated profile, and if you do end up playing anything different. But again, thank you so much for giving us the time and obviously giving us your profile for the channel. And thank you to everyone watching. And if you enjoy these kinds of things, let us know. Subscribe to the channel, leave any comments that you have, and we will get him to answer them for you. But yeah, take care, guys. Thank you so much, and hopefully see you in the next one.